I want to talk about what my friend from California just mentioned, and I want to just simply say that I think that the gentleman is truly a gentleman from California, and I enjoy the time we've spent together. But there are just a few things I think need to be correcting. Number one, the gentleman mentioned that over the last 6 years, the Republicans, when they were in charge, squandered the opportunity, lost the credibility. Well, guess what? It's only taken 6 months for this majority. Maybe 6 years for the former majority. 6 months, and this majority has turned their back on earmark reforms. 6 months into the new majority, and this majority has turned this thing upside down. What do I mean when I say that, Mr. Chairman? Let me just quote our current speaker on December 14, 2006. Quote, "We will bring transparency and openness to the budget process and to the use of earmarks, and we will give the American people the leadership they deserve." What happened? Well, a number of things happened. Under the Republican majority, earmarks got out of control. Under the Republican majority, waste occurred. Let me be the first one to say that. So what happened? In the last session, Republicans changed the rules. We said, if you're going to have an earmark, a pork barrel project, number one, we got to see it. It's got to be in the bill. A member has to have their name attached to it, so they have to defend it. But most importantly, the American people need to see this, and it needs to be in the bill as it comes to the House floor, as it goes to the Senate chambers, so that the American people have time to look at it, so that transparency and sunlight can bring accountability to the process, and so that we, as the people's representatives, each and every one of us, representing 670,459 people, can have judgment, can vote on it. That's transparency. That's accountability. It happened late in our majority, but it happened. What did the Democrats do as they took over the majority? To their credit, Mr. Chairman, they extended, enhanced, and improved upon these rules. So I would at this moment like to give some bipartisan credit to the fact that we negotiated these earmark reforms in the last session, and Speaker Pelosi and the Democrats, to their credit, carried them over and made them better. Where are we 6 months later? Where are we 6 months into this new majority? We went 3 steps forward, and now we went 6 steps backwards. Mr. Chairman, what are we doing? No transparency, no earmarks in these bills, no opportunity for the American people, the public, to see what's in this legislation. All we have in these bills are big slush funds. $5.9 billion slush fund in the bill that's coming up next. $20 billion earmark slush fund in the bill coming up after that. What does that mean? They're putting billions and billions of dollars of fiscal space, of a general earmark in these bills, and they're simply saying this money will be earmarked afterwards. When I, the chairman of the Appropriations Committee, decide to put this money in to go to our pet projects, pet constituencies, at my choosing, at my scrutinizing, after Congress has the ability to consider these things on their own merits. Is that transparency? Is that accountability? Absolutely not, Mr. Chairman. They have gone backwards, back on their word, back for bringing transparency and accountability to Congress. So let me just say for the record, both parties have messed this up. Both majorities have seen the light, and this majority is going backwards on this. That is what this is all about. We recognize we've got to have more transparency and accountability to the way we spend taxpayer dollars. That's one of the problems we have. The other problem is this idea that we can just spend our way into prosperity. This idea that we can just spend more and more and more money, and all things wrong in America will be fixed. If only we take more money out of people's paychecks, bring them up here into Washington, and spend their money, every problem can be solved. This is the problem we have at a basic philosophical level. Here's where we are just 6 months into this new majority. The president gave us a budget. His budget increased spending across all levels of government. His budget increased discretionary spending. Well, what happened since that budget came? $6 billion new dollars in spending in February in the omnibus appropriations. Then, just last month, $17 billion in new spending of unrelated, non-requested spending in an emergency appropriation bill to go to funding the troops in Iraq. $17 billion that has nothing to do with Iraq. And now, $21 billion in more spending. $43 billion out the window, out the door in new spending in just 6 months. How do you balance the budget, Mr. Speaker, Mr. Chairman? You balance it by controlling spending. I ask unanimous consent for 1 additional minute.
Without objection, the gentleman is granted 1 additional minute.
We believe you balance the budget by controlling spending, not raising taxes. And at the end of the day, this is what the differences are. The majority brought to the floor a bill and passed the largest tax increase in American history. They modified it to possibly reduce that to the second largest tax increase in American history. So what can they do? Raise more spending and raise taxes to balance the budget. We want to balance the budget at a much lower level of taxing and spending. We want more transparency in the process. We want to control federal spending. And we want the American people to see exactly how their money is being spent so that their representative can call these issues into question, not put the power in one man's hands here in Congress, which is the current proposal before us. With that, Mr. Chairman, I yield the balance of my time.
The gentleman yields back.